those two pillars that was on Horus. This is the god Min. M-I-N is minis. Minis. I hope you guys are taking notes. Hold on. At the end of all Christian prayers, you say Amen. Amen is Amun. It's the first pharaoh that throwed us into the New World Order. It's when you talk about Genesis, it's the genetics of the pharaoh. The Bible is a book of royal succession of the royal family. So let's look up Amun. You see, this is Amun, which is also Zeus Ammon. And at the end of your prayers, Christians, you say Amen, dealing with this guy Menes, or Amen, Amun, which is the worship of the phallus or the obelisk worship. You see it carved in the walls here. This was a homosexual cult. The word resurrection come from the term rise, erection. And as you can see here, the pharaoh has an erect penis. This is homosexuality. The men that run our world are homosexual pedophiles, and they are biblical-based magicians. So they condone pedophilia and they condone homosexuality, but they say they're Christians. And I'm just trying to wake Christians up to the origins of this evil religion. It's anti-nature. And the two testaments of the Bible deals with the two pharaohs that united, which was the main two world empires were Greece and Egypt. When they united, that was the beginning of the New World Order. We say all the time that we're waiting on a new world order, and that when the new world order happened, all of the world empires are going to unite and things are going to get bad for the people. Well, I got news for you. You guys are late. Wake up and smell the roses. The new world order happened 7,000 years ago during this unification. The world powers united when Greece united with Egypt. Those were the biggest empires on earth, and historians want you to believe they just vanished. What happened with the Greeks and the Egyptians, they merged to form the Western world that we are in today. Look around you. The architecture in America looks just like Greece. And we have a heavy Egyptian influence and a heavy Greek influence here, because there was no longer a Greece and an Egypt after this unification. There was a Greco-Egyptian culture that we are in right now. All right. So we've been in a new world order, and that's why the pyramid on the back of your dollar. But this erect penis shows you the forming of the first male secret societies and fraternities. This was the beginning of Neptunian ideologies. When you think about the word Neptune, which is a patriarchal deity, the root word is Nep, and that's the root word of nephew, dealing with favoritism or family worship or brotherhood, secret societies that rule the world with favoritism and create the illusion of equality. But anyway, nepotism is the word we use to describe that. Nepotism comes from Neptunian societies or Western world societies. So to make a long story short, the Genesis, the Bible, the two testaments are the two lineages of the two pharaohs. This represent the royal families that still rule over us today under those bloodlines. So when you open up the Bible, you notice that it go through a lot of trouble, and it spent a lot of pages giving you the succession. When you open up a book, it says, hey, this is Josh, which was the son of Japhet, who begat Isaac, who begat, such and such, who begat, this person who begat Joseph, and Joseph who begat 3 sons by the name of this. And they go on and on telling you who begat who, to keep a record of the lineage of rulership of pharaonic succession. So the book of Genesis is the book of genes, the book of genetics, the book of the pharaoh's genealogy. And we have to break free from it. Otherwise, we're going to always be ruled by the Pope, which is the pharaoh who's sworn an oath with an erect penis. All right, because the word erection is in the word resurrection, which is rise, erection. The pharaoh rise in erection so that he can be reborn again and again and again through the people worshiping him. So he became a fertility god to replace the great mother. Again, all patriarchal religions have a matriarchal foundation. This is why none of them can be older than matriarchal spiritualities, because the golden age predates history. We're talking about prehistory, and all history starts with Genesis, with the religious records. So those religious records that start history, for example, in the Bible, it teaches you about the beginning of the world, but the beginning of the world has nothing to do with the beginning of the earth. The true human origins that's been hidden is been hidden behind a book of Genesis and other religious texts. Our true human origins are in pre-dynastic concepts, which is all centered around the Great Womb, which is a micro version of the North Pole. So this god, men became Santa, and Santa became Jesus, and all of these concepts became stories to keep us from looking at the magnetic energy at the pole. And now we're looking at the erection of the man, and into the book of King James, which was also a homosexual. They are carrying on a succession of the pharaohs, and the Pope is part of that bloodline. There were black pharaohs and white pharaohs. There were pharaohs of all races, just like there are governments of all races. But the word government is synonymous with gang, because they all govern the mental, and they all feed us the same out of Africa theory, sun-centered theory, which serves the New World Order and keeps us worshiping men or minis or Amun or the two testes that you see in the Bible. So those two testaments in the Bible, like I said, they are the lineages, they're the testes of the two pharaohs, and it's all Dagon. Pope is Dagon. And I can go on and on with this because there's so much to teach. I can't do it in one little sit down, but I do want to stop at this time while I have a place to stop and allow other people to speak. Sorry for being long-winded, guys.
No, thank you very much for explaining that. We just, somebody came in the hangout at the beginning and booted a couple of people off, and someone just booted Santos off, but I'm just going to add him back on a different email. But yeah, I didn't know it quite like that. It'd be interesting to see what Santos says. Trotters? Trotters, are you there, Michael? Oh, you did, Marlena. Everybody's quiet. Oh no, we've lost Bro Santos now.
No, I'm still here.
Oh, cool. Sorry, I couldn't see it then. It was black. I'm trying to add Santos back.
Yeah, that's because I'm sharing my screen. Was you guys able to see my screen share the whole time?
Yeah, we saw it. No one spoke. We saw it.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep sharing, because while we talk about this, I'm gonna have to bounce back and forth to certain pictures here. But I guess people are quiet because I'm teaching them something that they didn't know, which is great, because now let me keep going. This god, our moon, is a form of Pan, the goat god, which is Jesus, also the Baphomet. And it comes from Zeus Ammon. Zeus Ammon is a Greco-Egyptian deity. Also a form of Ammon or Amun, and became Amun-Ra. They're all sun gods. The crown of thorns that Jesus wore, crown of horns. If you take the word T off of the thorn, you get the word horn. A thorn is a horn, okay? The word thorny is the word horny. All right, thorny is horny. If you think about the god Pan, Pan walks around with an erected penis, and Pan rapes women. So if you look at Pan, here is Pan. Pan wears the horns but those horns are really the thorns. He's a form of Jesus. The erection is the resurrection. The cock being erected, I hate to use that word, the phallus being erected on Pan is the phallus that's being erected by the Pharaoh. So the God man has an erected phallus. And during this time, the Pharaoh can rape any woman he wants. It was a patriarchal world. Men had dominion over women. If you go to the Middle East today, the man still treat the women like shit and beat them down in the street. But this God man has an erect phallus because he's also the God Pan. And Pan has the erect phallus. So the crown of thorns that's on Jesus' head is really the crown of horns that's on Zeus Ammon. This is all Jesus. And the thorns are the horns. It's the same word. The word thorny is horny because Pan was a horny god. So they are all forms of Jesus. And this is facts what I'm giving you. This is not even up for debate. The syncretism with the words and the pictures are worth a million words. So we can see here that the two horns are also the two testaments that we're ruled under the Bible. So, you know, this is deep stuff that I'm giving you here. The book of Genesis is not our true origin. If you look at the throne of this Pharaoh here, you can see where we get our American flag. The throne of our moon, all right, is where we get our American flag. So the fact that we have the pyramid on the back of the dollar and the American flag also comes from Egypt, it shows you we're still in a Greco-Egyptian society worshiping the same gods under different names. So if you think about what we say about the New World Order, we say that when the New World Order happened, that the whole world gonna be worshiping the same God. And that's what's happening right now. They got you looking for something that already happened. Everyone on earth is worshiping this same God called Amun, which is the first pope. And they don't know it. They calling him Krishna, Jesus, Allah, Buddha. But they all date back on a Gregorian calendar to the time when Norma rose to power. So the first rising sun is the first man to rule over the masses. Prior to him, there were no dynasties. We were ruled over by nature. This was called the age of autonomy. The first two letters in the word autonomy is AU. That's why they call this the golden age or the Garden of Eden days. We left the garden and came into the rulership under the patriarchy or under the two testaments. The Bible is the double bull. Bi is two. Bull is an animal that was used to represent the Pharaoh. So the double bull is the two pharaohs that still rule the world today under their bloodline. So Greek and Egypt are really became the two world centers after we migrated from Eden. Our American flag come from Egypt, as you can see here. So I'm teaching you guys the history of Western world thought and why the Bible is dangerous, because it's no different than heliocentric science books. Okay, there's some good and bad in everything, but that doesn't mean we should keep and use everything. Like I said, we can have a picnic on top of a bomb, don't mean we shouldn't do away with all bombs. So I can go on and on about this deception, but like I said, I just wanted to tie that on into the equation. If you look at the Pharaoh, what he's holding in his hand is a bent scepter. This rod is called a bent scepter, and that's what you see the Pope with. I'll find it. The Pope carries this bent cross just like Dagon. It's the same thing we saw the Pharaoh with. It's the same thing that the Black Greeks used. It's the same thing St. Nicholas carried. If you look at St. Nicholas here, he has the bent scepter and he has the Pope hat on. This is Santa Claus right here. This is Santa Claus with the bent scepter and the Pope hat. The armor or Nimrod, that is the Pope. That's Jesus. So they still have us worshiping the sun. This bent scepter is the hand of Dagon. His hand is shaped like a L or a band, which is the cornerstone or the number 7, dealing with completion. But that's a whole nother story that we can get into later, because the L that he's making with his hand is the angel or the angle. And it also is a god called El, which represents Saturn. So this is a two-headed beast. There is no such thing as Satan or the devil. It's the same thing. The only evil is when we take all of these beliefs and turn them into something that keeps us away from the mother or the womb that we all come from. We all come from our mother's womb. So any religion that hides that is the enemy, and that would be Christianity as well as many others. Now, when you talk about Pan, he's the same as Zeus Ammon, which is Jesus as well. This is also the Sphinx, but Pan is the root word of panic. And we live in a world that's a world of pandemonium because of the religions that govern this world. All right. Christianity being one of the dominant ones, which is another form of worshiping Pan. Now, when you talk about Black Greek societies, these are fraternities that you join when you're in college, but they are all under what's called the Pan-Hellenic Council. Pan is the god of the Masons, which is, I just told you, Norma. And this is called the Pan-Hellenic Council, the National Pan-Hellenic Council, because Pan is a Hellenic god. Pan is a god of the Hellenists or heliocentrists, the Helios people. And Jesus is a Hellenic god as well. Pan-Hellenism is the worship of Pan or Zeus Ammon. And that's a form of Christianity as well. The National Pan-Hellenic Conference is all of the fraternities that are ruling over the world with masonry over them. So here is the National Pan-Hellenic Council. All of these Greek societies are societies within societies serving the agenda of the secret societies, and they approach you when you're in college. Everyone don't know the deep esoteric secrets that I'm teaching, but all of them play their role to serve the matrix and the new world order. So we are in a pan-Hellenic world today under the Pope, under the Pharaoh Menes, under the biblical testaments, which is the succession of the kings. So Christianity perpetuates the king's succession, and that is very detrimental. That goes against the golden age, or the age where we all can go back to sovereignty, living off the land, because the God of the Bible has a chosen people. The God of the Bible is a God of favoritism, which says that there are a chosen people set to rule, and that chosen people are the royal families that rule the world, not us. So in order for all of us to rule and live in peace in nature and have nature in charge over all of us, is to do away with all of the successions, to do away with all of the lineage rulerships. And we can't do it without getting rid of the books that they use to record this succession, which is the Bible, the Dhamma, the Quran. So if we don't do away with these testaments, we don't do away with the succession of the bloodlines, we're asking to remain slaves.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Bro, are you there? Bro, we can't hear you right now.
Yes, I'm done talking. I want to let someone else get in for a minute because
I'm trying to add Santos back because somebody came in the hangout, Elizabeth, and I don't know who they were. They weren't invited, and they've kicked a few people out. So they kicked Santos out. So he's trying to add back himself. Yeah, Matt, who got kicked off, he would have talked to you about the fact that we're all fish.
It's sad that they kicked him off because I would love to hear what he has to say in response to what I said. And I hope that he was listening to the live stream, even though he was kicked off. That way he could still
he's waiting for
respond.
the link. He's just waiting for the link to come back, bro.
Okay, so you're gonna have to open a new Hangouts, right?
Well, we've been going for 2 hours now. Okay, he's got another link. We're just trying to add him back.
Okay.
I don't know where this person is, where they came from. Elizabeth. Have you heard of Elizabeth before?
I don't even see that person that came in here though. Where did they come in?
I don't know. They
Elizabeth
came on.
S. I see that.
Yeah, I was screen sharing. Let me stop the screen share. Hold up a minute.
Yeah, it's amazing when you actually look at it. Oh. Now we've lost Bro Sanchez. He may have done something to his computer. Here he is. Yeah,
there he is. He's back.
Okay, so Elizabeth. No, I don't. I know I have an Elizabeth on my side. Elizabeth. Her name is Blanca. She's cool. Other than that, I don't know too many others.
This one's name Elizabeth S. And
no, I don't know Elizabeth S. I know Elizabeth 98 or something like that. Mm-hmm. So we're just waiting on Santos. I hope he was able to listen to what I was just, teaching, because then that'll shed more light to him on why the Bible is really detrimental to us.
Right. I just think it's very important for when people don't have a belief in what the other person doesn't believe, or I shouldn't say a belief. This is all a know. We know things now. It is a beliefs. The stuff we know is not to. I'm not talking about you, Brother Sanchez, because I didn't hear you do this, but I did hear people do this during the stream. Is not to get angry and cut someone else off and say, "No, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong." That right there is a lack of patience and respect for each other. So hopefully if they come back on, that they show that if they have something that they need to say or teach or something that they know, then by all means let's talk about it. You know what I mean? But what you're doing, like, I understand, because I've been in a stream with you before where you've done this and you taught some things like this, so I get it. And it just shows that the cycle wasn't broken. The cycle is still going on right now with these, this terrible stuff that's going on with children and what have you.
But it's definitely made me think differently about Christmas.
Yeah.
Can't really look at Santa Claus the same anymore.
And Brother Sanchez, I was earlier when you said you didn't think I was paying attention. I really was paying attention to you. I was just trying to give you an example of my area, like how different these people act, even though they both they all share the same book that they use, but they act totally different. Like some of them, right? They use it more for a loving, love thing. And then there's others that are damning, where they damn everything, if you don't follow their way, it's their way or the highway. You know what I mean? That's all I was trying to say.
It's like good cop, bad cop. They both want to get you locked up. The good cop isn't more less bad or less good than the bad cop. They both want to get you convicted, whether or not you did the crime. But the good cop is more of a threat, because the good cop is faking like he's good. Or the good cop, in the case of the Christian, may literally think they're doing good and don't see the harm that they're doing. In any case, it doesn't stop the fact that it must be destroyed. We can't get our feelings involved when we go against attacking Christianity, just like I don't really try to get my feelings involved when I go against the globe, which is a religion. And I have to be fair. Globalism is a religion, and I attack it very hard. No Christians show up and say, Brother Sanchez, maybe you shouldn't go too hard on the globalists. You know, you were once a globalist. They laugh with me. They attack the globalists with me, even though they believe that they can walk on water. You know, I say that we have to be fair with everyone. If I'm going to go about the globe being a religion, exposing the deception of it and having no mercy on the indoctrination of it, I'm going to do the same with Christianity and Islam. There's one going to think I'm picking on the other one and not them. So it'll be hypocritical of me to be going after these globalists, telling them, hey, man, water can't hold the shape of a ball. But I don't go after the Christians and say, hey, man, you do know humans can't walk on water, right? I have to destroy it all, because all of it is the root of the deception that perpetuates our slavery mentally, physically, and spiritually. I thought Santos understood that. And I'm not saying no one have to agree with me, Marlena, either. But I'm just saying that when you take the stance that I'm taking, it's the true narrow path.
Right, and I appreciate it. I appreciate what you're doing. I really do. Because when you're, this is what I tell people. If you're going to be open and awake, then wake all the way up. Don't just wake up in your little bubble, stay in your little bubble. Oh, the earth is flat. Yeah, okay. What next? You can't be awake to the flat earth and still have that global perspective.
Can I just say one thing? In one sense, you're saying that the Bible is like a code book. And in the other sense, you're saying, but it's not, you shouldn't be following it, you shouldn't be looking at it. I do think that people take the book too literally. And I always thought as well that, say there was this person, Jesus, if he was sent, then the churches say you can't be anything like him. But if he was sent, then wasn't he sent so we could be more like him? So I never got that part of it. We can never be like Jesus. Wasn't that the point, that he was here? To be more like him? Anyway, that was just questions I had myself before all this. But yeah, I can't look at it all the same anymore. It's horrible. It's out there. You know, when you show those pictures of those hats looking like fish, Matt goes on about the fact that we're all fish. And oh, it just,
I know, it's a lot to think about, isn't it?
Yeah, we're just in such a game.
Mm-hmm. We're misguided. A bunch of misguided, you know. It is hard to wrap your mind around it. And yeah, Brother Sanchez, I understand what she's talking about. You know, okay, for Last Supper, say how you were using that as a something for time, or when we talk about it that way. Whereas I was taught that the Last Supper represented the astrological signs. That each one all the way to the middle, him being the sun, and I'm talking about the sun, not the sun as in your mother's son. I'm talking about the sun as the S-U-N. And then the other ones, when you look at them, they do actually look like they're the sign that they look like, how they're sitting, how they're, you know, the two that are grouped together as Gemini. And you know what I mean? I was taught that way, using Last Supper as a learning tool. You know what I mean? And it does follow up with how, you know, it starts off with Pisces and then works its way all the way, you know, like it does on a regular astrological wheel. Have you ever seen it like that when you look at the Last Supper?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to explain, how all of the constellations are around Jesus, and how, let me pull it back up for a minute.
Okay. Because I think this is what, Karen, is this what you're talking about? That he uses certain things, but then talks, is this what you're talking about?
So what do you mean?
Okay, when you just were saying how you don't understand, like Brother Sanchez uses it in certain ways, but then
Yeah, it's
talks
like
about it with the
code
phallic
book,
stuff, right?
Yeah, that's
A code book. That's what you said.
Yeah, like a code book. We sort of learnt that part. All right, the Bible's a code book. But you're saying now, Santos, Bro Santos, that we shouldn't be following it at all.
Yes,
Like,
you shouldn't
not
be
doing
following
anything.
it. You shouldn't be following it. It's what you just said. It's a code book. The chains that are around our spirit that keeps us in bondage are there to make us followers, are there to make us sheeple. The synonym of a sheep